that happened in Kenya just a few days ago, and so many people were making fun about it when it came to ladies' hair and other things. Let's have that conversation with Dr. Isaac Kalua. And I'm sure you you saw that meme that was making, rounds on social media about the wind that happened, and it went with the ladies' eyelashes and the weaves.
And not only that, can you imagine the number of clothes that were hanging on lines in different places, and people who woke up to losing clothes all over out of the wind. But on a more serious level, this is a situation that has not been experienced in the recent past in Kenya. But of course, when we talk about climate change, when we talk about instability of our air and the weather because of lack of trees, because we have caused a lot of harm in this environment. So when there is unstable kind of weather or air, then when the winds are coming up, because the rains will follow through, just like the weatherman explained in this kind of a situation, that causes that instability of the wind, and therefore it blows in one direction as the hot air is being pushed by the cold one as the rains come over, and it brings us to that realization. As a country, we need to do much more. What is happening in other parts of the world, including China, the US, India, the industrialized countries, do affect us. When we are not planting and growing trees in our environment, it means that we are open up to much more mess than we should allow in the environment. So it's a realization. It's an actual reality check of the effects. Well, I mean, it's coming home. I may be talking that many people may not listen. Many people may not have listened to Wangari Maathai. Many may not. But when these kind of things and activities come through, we begin to feel the effect. And
so
we
when
realize,
you experienced that strong wind that happened last week,
yes.
So what you're saying is we still need to expect more of that?
That's definite. And it's unknown. You don't know what is going to happen. Because in one time there will be the drought, which we are now experiencing almost in a cycle of 4 years. Every 4 years we have a situation that we never had. There are times that we experience a lot of flood. There are times that we experience extraordinary heat that is unprecedented. We have this kind of a windstorms that we are having. We expect over, a lot of rain at different times. So there is these temperaments of the temperature that we realize, and therefore the ladies need to be more careful with their hair and eyelashes. On a light note, as we deal with this, yes.
That we wear.
Exactly.
But now, still on a serious note, as much as we're talking about conserving the environment to avoid, such kind of, experience that we went through last week, we're talking about conserving the environment, planting trees, but at the same time, we're seeing trees being cut for the sake of development. Look at what's happening along Ngong Road. Lots of trees have had to be cut because of road development. Look at what's the southern bypass, leading towards Mombasa Road. It was such a place. It was a place that had a lot of trees. Also, trees had to be cut.
It's first and foremost. Let me say there is hope. When we say and present a doom kind of a situation in a country, it doesn't leave a lot of hope. Let me say, first of all, there is hope. For the first time since the world was created in Kenya, I saw an institution guiding in terms of policy that contractors, this is the Rural Electrification Authority, that the contractors who are using trees to erect power lines and all that, are now required to plant trees equivalent to the number of trees that they have used in terms of construction of this kind of. It's embedded now in policy. This is hope.
Okay.
Because many times, you remember, we have always been talking about people planting equivalent trees to their age. Institutions planting. The Plant Your Age campaign that was started way back after Wangari Maathai passed on, we call for people to plant trees equivalent to their age. And within the same concept, the institutions like Standard Group planting trees equivalent to the number of newspapers they produce, and everybody planting the number of age that they have existed. So this activity of tree planting, tree growing, is what needs to be embedded in our own hearts. And there is a failure, I must say this, and very painfully so, that we have people not reporting what is supposed to be reported. You've had previous presidents, we have had institutions being guided, oh, Kenya is at 1.7% forest cover. Oh, now let us continue. We have moved to 7-point-something%. We must get to 10%. It's all not true.
So that's not the situation on the ground.
Not the situation on the ground. We actually have more than 10% forest cover in Kenya. But for reasons that are only known to those who direct those kind of situations, we create a situation, oh, we must fight for 10%. We are already past 10%. We never were at 1.7 at any given time. Never. Because our forest alone is only 2% of forest of the land mass. Therefore, there is a lot of misinformation, and this is what must be brought down for people to understand.
All right.
But to make it possible is one thing. Show value that can place food on the table in terms of the number of trees to be grown in the country.
But as you talk about, show value in terms of trees to be grown in the country, there is a lot of politics when it comes to conservation. Look at what's happening at the Mau Forest. The government is talking about, let's conserve the Mau Forest, because Mau Forest is a water source to several, rivers within the African continent. Yet politicians are saying, oh, and there's a time, I don't know if you heard that sentiment by one of the politicians who said, water does not come from trees. It comes from the sky. Yet trees are part and parcel of the rain that we receive every day.
You see, again, back to information. Those who know very well, and they choose to keep it to themselves. Those who don't know, they are kept not to know for the purpose of those who know, not to let it out for people to understand. There needs to be proper education. When you are telling people to grow trees, why are they growing trees? We need water. The water that they are getting needs to come from the trees and the forests and all these areas, the stability of the air that we have and temperatures that we need to have. This must be educated to these people. Mau is only one of the situations that we have in Kenya. It's only not known to Kenyans, my dear. There are forests in this country that people have invaded in equal measures, just like in the Mau. There are forests that people are messing up, deforestation in very high level. It's only that there is no much political lighting in those specific areas. But what is happening in Mau is just a replica of what is happening in so many other areas. And these are the issues that we need to bring out step by step. When we say about educating people, people are seeing, those who are living around the forests, they are seeing that trees are being harvested, they are being sold. Soon after, they see people making money and driving in very big cars, yet they are the same people who have protected the forests around this area, and they are not gaining. There must be that value, economic value, that mwananchi living around the forest must be able to see, touch, and feel, so that there is food on the table. But
even as we do that, Dr. Kalua, the question is, then how should you conserve some of these, forests that are facing threat of, just getting over with in terms of ensuring we plant trees? At the same time, the government says we need to move you away from some of these forests that we need to conserve. But at the same time, these are people who have legit title deeds. So is there a way of having the people stay within the forest and at the same time conserve it?
Talking about legitimacy or not, titles that are valid or not, this is a subject for a different day. But I know very well that a forest is supposed to be an area that is serene and kept for that purpose of a forest, for what a forest is supposed to do there for the community. You can never imagine to have a title of a forest because it's supposed to be gazetted area. And therefore, even if you had a title, then it was wrongfully acquired. So two wrongs don't make a right at the end of the day. The most encouraging thing is that it is never too late to do the right thing. Whether as a nation we delayed or we kept doing wrong things, the fact that we have to do it right is that we have to do it right now. We need to, Kenya is one country I'm so proud of that there are so many policies in place, there are so many regulations in place. The only thing is that they remain in paper and in the shelves more than what we do. As a nation, let me even take you higher to the level of the climate change, policy and the council, which is supposed to be headed by His Excellency, the President. We have all those in place. Kenya is respected globally. We are number one. We have done what has never been done. But where is that? There is no one single meeting
so we have
that
policies?
has ever happened. And we are just delaying it because we are deliberately choosing to delay.
All right.
It is not the president. It is people who are supposed to make things happen that are not doing it. Painful.
But why do you think there's that deliberate act not to implement?
The importance of taking environmental issues seriously. And because we are dealing with trees and wildlife that may not communicate to us, we choose to take advantage in that space and not understanding the value that the wildlife has to us and vice versa. So we just need to get serious. People who are supposed to be, who are given that ministry, if it is the minister, we are supposed to give information to the minister that is helpful to him because he is a political appointee at the end of the day. But then there are professionals who are out there who are supposed to give him the information, and together so that we can be able to galvanize this kind of systems and knowledge to the people so that people can get to do what they must do.
Right.
Payment for ecosystem services. I have said it umpteen times. Tell a Kenyan and an African for that matter to conserve environment. You'll be left alone. But show them how to make money they will go in that direction. So why not use it as a bait in all aspects? So that it's not that money is driving us. We are only speaking the language of our own people. So that the livelihood issue is taken care of. We are talking of a nation, my dear, where we don't have sufficient employment. The green sector has a lot of job opportunities, so much that we must be able to take advantage of and communicate to the people so that they see a solution in that field. This is the direction that I would say, even as we work toward answering your question, which is very wide.
All right.
Yes.
And as we bring this conversation to an end, Dr. Kalue, we've run out of time. Just in a minute, we've seen, world leaders, presidents, activists going to the US to talk about matters environment, and we've seen young people petitioning world leaders, telling them we are the leaders of today and tomorrow. We need a clean environment. You need to leave us with a clean environment. Is there a possibility of world leaders just listening to the cry? Because you can see heat wave in India.
There is quite a lot. And as you saw, even the young girl the other day, they're just saying we are tired, we are sick of waiting for policy. We are just going to go ahead. We are going to miss school, so that the people, the leaders who are in place can understand the entire mess that we have in the environment, that we are the cause of all this, and that the solution lies in one of the simplest that can only be done by everybody, planting a tree. That a tree is a solution to the carbon mess that we have had in the environment, the fossil fuels that we are using, and that calling for action to move one step further. We are currently having a situation where policy has been left behind by people who have, by the sandstorm that we have. We should have foreseen that, and our documentation has foreseen that, but we have not in reality handled what we need to do. It's everyone's action.
Everyone's action. We all need to do what we can so that we have a good environment, so that we don't see ladies' weaves and...
Plant your age. Plant your age.
So when I'm 30, 40, 50, 20, I plant 30 trees, 20 trees.
Make sure they grow.
All right, and I make sure they grow. Bring us to the end of that conversation with Dr. Isaac Kalue, a conservationist when it comes to matters environment. But we still have a lot landed for you when we come